Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Faces of NextGen Live. Normally do it on Mondays, but today is a special interview that I am super excited to bring to you guys. My name is Eric Wells. I'm the education coordinator for the NextGen Genealogy Network, and my company is Legacy Left Right. But enough about me. Today is all about my guest, and today's guest is Mr. Daniel Horowitz of MyHeritage. How are you doing, Daniel?
Very good, Eric. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Well, thanks for being had. You're actually sitting 7,028 miles away from me in Israel right now. And I got to tell you, you're the most long distance, the furthest interviewee I've ever talked to thus far.
Yeah, normally that's what happens with me, yes. Only Australian people win over me.
Now, what's your position with MyHeritage? What do you do for them?
Right now, I'm the genealogy expert. I'm in charge of communication with genealogy societies, with genia bloggers, spreading the news about new features, PRs, and wonderful success stories that we have here at MyHeritage. I represent the company also in conferences and give lectures around the world.
And so you are actually right now in the hometown of MyHeritage, where it's actually located, right?
Yeah, this is the city of Or Yehuda in Israel. This is our mothership. We also have another office here in Israel in Tel Aviv, and a few others around the globe.
Now, now, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? We kind of NextGen focuses on connecting the young.
Okay. Eric? Okay.
Oh, Daniel, I'm sorry about that. They did it again.
No worry. Technology always failed. Otherwise, will not be perfect.
I know, right? Okay, so I was asking you.
Now people are gonna think that I didn't want to say my age.
Okay, so how old are you?
No, I'm actually 47.
And how long have you been working with MyHeritage?
I'm with MyHeritage since 2006. I actually moved to Israel in 2005. So almost since the beginning that I arrived to the country.
And where are you originally from?
I was born in Venezuela. I spent my previous part of the life over there. All my life, I was there, learning, teaching, working over there till 2005.
So it sounds like you got interested in genealogy and actually in an early-ish age. What got you interested in this whole field?
Well, definitely there was no NextGen before, but basically, as you said, yes, from very early stages in my life, my grandmother's stories were fascinating to me. All her life in Europe and during the Second World War, and all the family that perished in the Holocaust and during the war triggered that interest in me. That's from my mother's side. From my father's side, at the same time, I received a family tree made by an uncle in England. And the two things came together very beautifully. And since then, I think I was 13, 14 years old, I was always interested to hear and to know who were my relatives, and building family trees everywhere and asking questions. as much as I could.
Wow, that's a cool little story. So you've got ancestors both in Venezuela and in England. Am I hearing that right?
Most of my ancestors are coming from Eastern Europe. Some of them during and a little bit before the war came west. Some stayed in England. Other ones came all across America. My father was actually born in Trinidad, while my grandfather was staying there, my grandparents staying there for a couple of years. My mother was born in Italy, where my grandparents were on their way to Venezuela. So we did had a good, close family in Venezuela. And now I'm here in Israel. Most of the family are now in the States. Yeah, this is life. People move around.
Yeah. You've come from a long family of globetrotters then, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So of all of the ancestors that you discovered, who was the one that you would really like to meet?
Probably I would say my great-grandfather from my father's side, the father of my grandmother from my father's side. He was born in Ukraine. Today it's called Chernivtsi, the city. And as far as I can tell, he had a very interesting life. He was working for the railroad back in 1800s. And he traveled a lot back and forth. And he seemed to have a very interesting life. So
where did he work on the railroad? Actually,
Chernivtsi.
In that city, he built
that's a main city in the south of Ukraine, and it had the railroad since very early 1800s. Actually, the train was going to what it's today Lviv, Lvov, Lemberg, many names for the same city, and he was what we say today a train conductor.
Oh, I love trains, and that sounds like a really neat guy to talk to. Kind of get to know. He gets shares probably some amazing stories about early trains and what was like throwing down those rails and those railroad ties and stuff.
Yeah.
So, what was one of your most interesting or surprising discoveries as you've been doing your research?
Well, I guess back to England, where I found out two branches of the family that they were not talking to each other. And I actually managed to reunite them. And the funny thing is that I met with the sons and daughters of those two cousins that suddenly they stopped talking to each other. And you could see on the pictures of the kids that they appeared together and they were like a very happy family. Of course, nobody knows really what was the reason, but they just broke communication. And in one of my trips, I said, "Hey guys, would you mind to meet together again?" And they said, "Yeah." Well, they didn't know what was the reason for the fight, so I actually reunited my own family.
That's great. You use genealogy and it brought people back together.
Well, that's what genealogy is for, right? That's what we do genealogy, to reunite people, discover new relatives and reunite them.
I love it, especially since they totally don't even remember what the argument was about, but they just knew that there was something they didn't like about each other, and so they kept going with.
And probably, after the years, nobody could remember and couldn't care less.
That's really great. Well, good on you, buddy. You were the Dr. Phil for your family. So So do you, I know that the internet is just full of stuff being written down and blog posts and everything like that, but a lot of us genealogists love looking through books. And do you have any favorite books that you like, would like to recommend, genealogy or otherwise?
No, Eric, I need to be honest, and people that knows me and hear me lecturing know that I try always to answer with the truth. Probably, I mean, for sure, 12 years since I moved to this country, and not because of the language, but I don't like to read. I prefer to go to the movies, to see it on TV, or just to hear it in a podcast or in a lecture. I do like records. I do recognize the importance of records and books. I used to read a lot of spy stories in books, but I don't know. Lately, 10, 15 years, I don't know what's that. I read my kids' books, and yeah, but they're not kind of interesting. Like very small paragraph, very monotonic subjects over there. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like you're much more of a face-to-face type of person, much more of a people person. For me, it would be great if I just curl up by the fire with a good book. But it sounds like you are more of a get your energy and excitement from meeting around with people.
Yeah, I love to mingle. I love to go to genealogy lectures, to attend meetings. Even if the subject is not a particular interest for my genealogy, just hearing other people's stories and being able to maybe help in some brick walls and helping there, definitely that's my passion.
Yeah, in fact, you and I, well, I've had seen you around several of the conferences, but you and I actually first met at the San Diego Jamboree Conference this year. And you're gracious enough to come on this show. And but you go all over the country and doing these conferences, don't you?
Yes, I'm very fortunate that my task, my role, today's role in MyHeritage allows me and asks me actually to travel mostly for the big conferences in the States, starting with RootsTech, and hope to be there as well again in this March. Then I go back for NGS, the Southern California Jamboree you mentioned. Sometimes I even connect with the Ontario Genealogical Society conference, which is very close in time, so allows me to just on my way back to Israel, jump over there. The IAJGS, which is the Jewish one, also, and sometimes FGS. And as we were chatting before, up till last year, I also covered the Who Do You Think You Are conference in England, in London.
Mm-hmm.
And those were like events. Of course, I always try also to take advantage of the trips and make some stopovers close to the venue and do some lectures for different societies and different groups that are willing to receive me and hear me.
Yeah. So the next conference you're going to be at, the people can actually see and come up to you and say, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube." Will be.
I hope everybody will come to RootsTech. It's really the biggest event right now in the world, and the energy and the vibe that you get over there, not only from lectures, from the exhibit hall, it's quite impressive, but also people. Like you see people that are just starting talking and interacting with people with more than 20, 30, and 40 years in genealogy and sharing experience all together. It's really very energizing.
Yeah, I kind of would mirror your sentiment exactly. Like when I attended, it felt very lively and very a lot of excitement and not at all dull. it was both a show and very educational and exciting too. I really enjoyed Roots Tech quite a bit.
Yeah, so there or in any other of the main conference, I would love to see and hear people commenting about this interview.
So switching tracks a little bit, when you do research, and where would be one of your most favorite places to sit down and do some research?
Well, I would have to say here at the office.
Yeah.
Actually, on the after hours is very quiet. I have two big screens on each side and my laptop screen in the middle. I can open different records in one side and the family tree in the other. Wonderful internet connection. But also archives. Like I had the pleasure to be in a couple of archives in Chernivtsi and some others in the United States where all the records were available, and again going through the books, going through the records is fascinating. It's the serendipity moments where you find your family right away. I also take and suggestion to everybody hearing us. Normally, when I go to Roots Tech, I take 1 day off before the conference, and I go to the Family History Library.
Oh yeah.
I like to call that the Disneyland for genealogists. Or like even before the time that everything was digitized, you had over there all the microfilms, and you can just go over them and search and research and enjoy everything that they offered over there.
Now, you're in Israel. What is it like to do genealogy research in that country? I'm used to doing research here in the United States, but it's kind of foreign to me as to what it would be like in a different countries such as Israel.
Well, let me start by saying that it's totally different. The country itself only has 70 years, which is the same amount of years of the privacy law in the country. So right now, almost no record is open to anybody. Well, burial records and those that privacy doesn't imply, those are open, but most of the other ones are still closed. Then another big difference is that in this country, most of the population came from another country, like in those 70, 80 years back. Very few are here many generations back. For example, my wife family, they were here and they had to flew out, and now we are like closing the circle and returning home, as she says. And the third thing is the language. Definitely having everything in Hebrew is a kind of a challenge, especially if you don't manage the language, if you don't know how to read or how to write on Hebrew. It may be tough, it may be difficult, but it's doable. Just like any other country has its challenges, it's doable. And here actually there are a lot of people dedicated to genealogy and to family history. Maybe because of the same reason that people are coming from other countries. Everyone is bringing his own culture, and they want to preserve it on the family. They want to share it with other families and have a little bit of continuity on the history of the family. So Israel is a very good place to do genealogy. You have here 3 genealogical societies in a country that it's as small as the state of New Jersey.
So with those privacy laws we were talking about earlier, there's this 70-year law where you have to keep the record sealed, and then after that 70, like the 71st year, then they become unsealed. And so
Yes.
basically, next year there'll be 1 year released that'll finally be released of records. Is that what you're
Well,
kind of?
I'm not sure about the procedure, and I'm very sure the archive didn't realize that either. They're not there yet.
Right.
But for example, the National Archive has been digitizing a
Oh,
lot of their records, and you could go and there's some material that are open to the public, like also in the States, like you have the FOIA and the right to open records. Also, some of the records here in Israel are open, but they're starting to open immigration records, birth records, petitions, and things like that. 2018 is actually, since May 2018, will be the start of the 70 years. So the
okay.
archive will need to deal with that since that date.
And what's kind of neat now is with the modern day technology, they could probably quickly digitize the stuff that finally becomes released and out into the public. That would be kind of neat.
Yeah, as I said, I do know the National Archive here has a program on digitizing and putting the records online. Also, the National Library here started to massively digitize and make information available. People are really asking, are really inquiring about their history and their genealogy.
That's fantastic. I love it. I really love it. So do you have a specific area of interest that you like to focus on, and what got you interested in that?
Well, because I study computer engineers, technology has always brought to my attention. Working on a high-tech company here, that's one of my things for sure. I love how the technology works, how you can scan the records, how you can apply OCR, how I can find people in the internet, and that's what I'm dedicating right now.
And does that have anything to do with that poster that's sitting behind you? Because we have someone in the chat room. Melanie's asking about that poster behind you.
Well, yeah, definitely. That's version 1 of MyHeritage. That was a celebration of the 10th year of a very today small group that were still working for MyHeritage. So we received that as an honor. That's the design of how the tree looked at. You can see here like the old logo and
oh wow,
different design, and some small menus up here in the blue color. That was the official color of MyHeritage back there.
Oh, so that's more of a plaque and less of a poster than I had said earlier.
So it's kind of it's a poster. It's a personalized poster that they did here for the 7-8 people that were here since the beginning.
That's really cool looking. I like that. That's neat.
I'm looking forward to version 2.0.
When will that be? In a few more years?
Another 9.
Oh, so you just recently got that then, like a year ago you got that.
Yes.
Got it. Now, you are the expert genealogist at MyHeritage. Do you take clients at all, or do you kind of more direct how the company goes with their genealogy?
I help a little bit on to the research team, but we don't get clients. There are specific tasks in the field. For example, with this royal wedding, coming up, we found out that the supposedly, allegedly non-English bride actually had ancestors like William Shakespeare and Churchill. So sometimes I help a little bit with the research team,
Yeah.
but it's mostly a marketing, a PR, and an education task. Previously, I also shared the translation manager. I was in charge of volunteers and some other people that their task was to translate everything in MyHeritage to the 42 languages that we support.
Okay.
But it became too much for a one-man, and I had to choose, and I chose the genealogy path.
So how many languages do you speak then? Because I'm here in English. You're from Venezuela, to Trinidad. You're in Israel. I'm kind of getting the hint, the feeling that there's a lot of languages that you.
Let's start counting. Okay, so Spanish is my mother tongue, and then English, as you can see, very proficient. Also very good with Hebrew, of course. And then there is this Jewish language kind of called Yiddish, which is very similar to German. So it allows me to understand a little bit of German. And because of my Spanish, I can understand quite good Italian and Portuguese. So, yeah, the Russian is the one giving me troubles here.
Oh, really? Yeah. And that's kind of a similar language to your Ukrainian ancestors.
Yeah, we have a lot of Russian and Ukraine immigration here. So you hear those languages all over, and you see signs already in Russian or Ukrainian in Cyrillic, and it's a little bit difficult, but
yeah,
we're learning.
So it sounds like Israel is a little bit of a melting pot. I think that here in America, we kind of just think it's all Jewish ancestry, but from what you're saying, there's more cultures, various cultures from around the world that are coming to Israel than just.
It's totally a melting pot, and that is actually one of the advantages of sitting in Israel. MyHeritage, as many of other companies, they have employees from almost every place in the world. So you can manage here all the languages, you can communicate with everybody. And also the time difference is actually perfect. We were saying that we are 8 hours behind you, your central time, 7 hours through the East time in one side, and 7 hours to Australia on the other side. So we're just right in the middle, serving the whole world.
I never thought about that. That's true. Like here I'm in the Midwest, and we're kind of centralized to America, like the United States. But yeah, where you're sitting, you could reach quite a lot of people with your your time zone. That's true.
That's what we do. The early shift works again like the Australasian side of the world, the day shift through Europe, and the night shift through the United States. So we cover the whole world.
That's so cool. I love it. When you first started out in genealogy, like if you could go back and talk to your 13, 14-year-old self, what was the one thing that you would want to tell that little guy?
Oh, record better.
Yeah.
I heard too many stories, and right now I don't have record. Like I remember them, but I don't have them recorded in any place, and that's definitely a shame. Video was available at that time. I'm not that old, but I wasn't thinking. Like I started probably as many just collecting names and a little bit of stories here and there. Also, the fact probably that for my father's side of the family and a little bit from my mother, but we also had relatives already here in Israel. But all the Horowitz in Venezuela were my family. So, you know, in a sense, okay, so everything here, all you see is all what you have.
Right.
Until I discovered this branch in England and a little bit of also in the United States. But definitely, and if my word can go to the new generations, like, you know, we all have smartphones today. So just don't waste time. Just pull it out, record video, audio, everything you do, all the interviews, all the stories. Yeah.
Got it. Well, do you mind if we talk a little bit about MyHeritage? Is that the company itself? Does that sound like a good idea?
It is kind of a quarter of my life already, so why not? I spend more time here than at home.
It sounds like you're so passionate about the company. I love hearing that. What are some of the plans going forward that you could share with us about MyHeritage? Like, what do you see for its future?
Well, there's no secret on the path that we're going with the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
We came late but heavy into the DNA area.
You guys are the new kids on the block.
Yeah, but the advantage of that, and this is what I heard also from the audience, from the public, is that coming late has the advantage that we know already what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. And we're trying to do things the right way. So we're focusing now with our science team on DNA, expanding the pool of people tested and implementing tools for that. The last one, we revealed the surveys for whoever took a DNA test with MyHeritage or uploaded the raw data from any of the other companies out there. And our science team is very busy trying to analyze and try to help people with that data. So my invitation here to everybody that has taken the test to go and to either upload it into MyHeritage if you haven't done so, and going to the surveys area and answer it is actually very interesting.
So the survey area is going to help your scientists come up with better tools for the MyHeritage users in the future, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Got it.
And also it will improve as well the matching part, because we'll be able to understand better the composition of the DNA and matching the different pieces all together. That will help other people as well, as it is already doing it. Like the internet and the media is full of success stories or of families reuniting, and kids finding their parents and everybody going together. Like it's wonderful what DNA can do for us.
Now, just a little bit ago, you talked about how worldwide your company reaches, and is the DNA something you're also able to offer to most, if not all, of your worldwide clients, and not just those of us in the US?
Yes, definitely. We do offer DNA in most of the world. You say it beautifully. We don't offer it in France. We don't offer it in Poland, and we don't offer it here in Israel as well. And the reasons are actually very easy and very clear. Like the local laws of those countries sometimes don't allow DNA tests to be performed. Here in Israel, you actually need a court order in order to do a DNA test to prove paternity and other stuff. I think in France and in Poland is more or less the same thing, which in one hand is kind of a shame because you are restricting like a whole country to be able to take their test. But, you know, people always find a way to go around the system.
Sure. If there's a system, there's people out there gaming it. So that's kind of neat. From what I'm hearing you say about MyHeritage is that, and the whole DNA thing, is that because you guys are the new kids on the block, you're able to learn from some of the mistakes that other companies have made. And then in addition to that, you're able to use your international roots and kind of draw in more of an international audience than perhaps some other companies are able to do.
Yeah, that's definitely our position also, like here in Israel, and the fact that we started with the rest of the world and then we came to the States, it also gave us very good positioning.
Oh, I didn't know that. So you came to the States last. That's awesome. And you went to the rest of the country or the rest of the world first.
Yes, we started locally, and our CEO and founder Gilad Yafed, he actually started like Microsoft, like in his living room, with a couple of guys. When I joined the company, I was employee number 11. Today we are 400 and so. But yeah, it started very, very local, and obviously it was easier to expand close by to the European region. Mm-hmm. And then we decided to jump the lake.
Nice. When I put my DNA into some of the other companies, the results I got back were purely states. And so it sounds like if I were to put my upload or even take a test through MyHeritage, I would have a higher access to some of my distant international relatives.
Definitely.
That's kind of cool. I hadn't seen it that way before. Nice. So is it, I know that you guys were offering some fantastic deals for the kits over Black Friday, and is that continuing through the holidays? Do you know anything like that?
Yes, right now, and I think that until tomorrow, we have an early Christmas special, and the goal for that is that you can still order your DNA with expedited shipping, and you will get it by Christmas.
Oh, wow.
So when you get together with all the family members, 1 hour, like at least 1 hour after you had dinner, or better, before that, before dinner or supper, you can swap your relatives.
So you don't want DNA samples coming back saying, oh, your uncle's a turkey or something like that?
Yeah, you're related to Kentucky Fried Chicken now.
I love it. Are people able to still upload the raw DNA to MyHeritage?
Yes, we still have that open for free.
Okay.
So I don't know till when, and you know, mostly when a milestone reaches, like the end of the year, is when things change. And truly honest, I don't know if that is going to be the case. But I have heard that eventually we will close or we will charge for the upload. But for now, it's totally free, and you can bring your results from any other company out there.
Now, what I would imagine is that when you're doing DNA tests, the DNA tests are all looking for SNPs, like SNPs, and yeah. Would MyHeritage test for different SNPs than perhaps some of the other companies would be? So that might be an additional benefit to taking a MyHeritage test instead of just uploading raw DNA?
Yes and no.
Okay.
And again, My boss knows I tell always the truth. Like we do tests for different areas, different snippets of the DNA, but they are not that different.
Okay.
And what's happening now in the industry is that you can share with most of the companies the raw data, and although they don't match exactly 100%, they do what they called, and I'm talking they because those are the scientifics guys, not me. I'm just
Sure.
techie, genealogy. They do what they call imputation, which is no other thing than filling the blanks. Like you have 90% of the DNA matches 100%, and the other probably less, even that 10%. You can assume what should be there. And that is how they manage to match different companies' test in the same pool.
Got it. Got it. Well, very good. I don't have anything else. Where can people find you on the web?
Well, I have my own Twitter account, which is MYH Chief Gen.
Okay.
I have a website also since my early stages, searching for myroots.com or .org.
You got that URL, and we've got all these links in the show notes and stuff like that. But you got searchingformyroots.org, and you must have done a long time ago.
Yeah, basically that all started since the beginning when I was in Venezuela. I was also a teacher for this school project, Searching for My Roots. So I decided to open the website and to post over there a little bit of information about what I was doing. Today is mostly about my media appearances. So a link to this video will be there for sure when you make it available on YouTube. But also other interviews and the topics of my lectures and my next appearances are over there. And also in MyHeritage, like whatever you see at MyHeritage booth, at MyHeritage stand, I hope I will be there.
Got it. Is it .org or is it .com? Searching for My Roots.
I think like a techie wise, I have both domains in case.
Jeez, you got lucky. We here in Springfield, Missouri, I don't know how they did it, but our library system got thelibrary.org, and I'm like, that's just brilliant. Good for them. Well, before we sign off, Daniel, is there anything else you want to say, or something that I didn't cover do you want to talk about?
Well, like definitely, I want to thank you and thanks the NextGen, which I have been good enough to see its beginnings again in Jamboree many years ago.
Right.
In that night's table in the lobby of the hotel in Burbank, and I'm very happy for this movement. I do know that in every conference there are meetings. I know that a lot of things are happening in Twitter, in Facebook, on YouTube, and this is really the place for the new blood in genealogy. I'm very happy to see so many young people coming into genealogy, something that has always been like for the old ages person, retirement hobby. Is not a hobby anymore. It's really a passion of all these people, and I'm very happy to be part of it.
Yeah.
To be the NextGen.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, and it's kind of neat that this younger generation is able to show off their passion in such a public way using technologies like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, and kind of shed some light on that genealogy is a lot more about a lot more than just dusty books and you know and unknown people. It's more about telling stories and bringing people back to life. So I like your sentiment on that.
Definitely. And if you think like really for our kids, they will not need to go to the archive. They will not meet those dusty books that you mentioned, because hopefully everything will be already digitized. Like if you go back in time, we're digitizing everything back. If you go further in time, everything is already created and based digital.
Sure.
So we are really like in a very special times where we can enjoy both side of the coin, both worlds.
Yeah, we're kind of straddling both worlds, I know that growing up, I kind of straddled the world where we had no computers, and then when we had computers, or corded phones and cell phones and stuff like that. And
But you know what? Even the most young genealogist with the best technology available, they will always start their family trees with pen and paper.
Yeah.
That's something that will never change, hopefully.
I hope so. Well, Daniel, this has been such a pleasure sitting down and speaking with you. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. It was really my pleasure, and I'm very happy.
All right. Well, I'm going to sign off now, and we've got another one of these episodes coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks, January 8th, and we'll be interviewing Becky Campbell. I'm looking forward to that as well. But other than that, guys, I'm Eric Wells, Education Director for NextGen Genealogy Network, and my guest today has been Daniel Horowitz, the expert genealogist at MyHeritage. So guys, have a great day, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.